Veronika, welcome to TVP World. Thanks for taking the time.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, Veronika, is Latvia simply overreacting? I mean, you know, it's a member of NATO. Surely, as soon as, Russia starts to bomb it, the other NATO countries will come in and react and respond to that bombing. Isn't that so?
Yes. First of all, just to reiterate, Article 5 of the Washington Treaty, the main clause or the binding clause of NATO does say that if one or several members of the alliance are attacked, then NATO as an alliance, as whole alliance, must respond. So in that regard, Latvia or any of the other Baltic states or any of the members of NATO are safe and their security will be guaranteed. Now, having said that, what they are doing in Latvia, I think we can just see it as a precautionary measure, and that is perhaps right to do. Russia obviously has been quite aggressive and used a false pretense to attack Ukraine in 2014 and also obviously in 2022, using the pretext of potential genocide of the Russian ethnic people living in Ukraine. Given there is a sizable Russian minority living in all of the Baltic states, Russia could easily use the same excuse to attack those states as well.
Well, indeed. And I want to talk about the large Russian minorities in the Baltics, especially in Latvia, which has around 35% of the population which has Russian roots. But the risk, I mean, of course, nobody would deny that Putin is unpredictable, Putin is dangerous, and so on. But essentially, the risk of him attacking Latvia is based on him taking on NATO. Is he really going to make that decision?
I would say that, first of all, we have had a lot of conflicting information in the past couple of weeks. On one hand, we had President Zelensky saying that NATO is the next target of Russia after Russia is done with Ukraine. We also, on the other hand, heard US intelligence reports saying that such invasion of Baltic states or NATO, generally speaking, is highly unlikely. I would perhaps say that I'm most likely to agree with the Finnish president, who said that it is very much unlikely that such attack should happen. But at the same time, we should be cautious and we should be preparing for potential confrontation with Russia, which means that shelters should be in good place, should be safe. And perhaps it's time that NATO and the Western world do start arming up. We have been living in a peacetime for many decades, and the Western militaries are not prepared to face Russia in the near future. So I would just say we should be cautious, but we should not panic.
Right, so be prepared, but don't panic. Well, that sounds like sensible advice. Now, you know, one can understand Putin's frustration with the Baltic states. They were all part of the Soviet Union. Latvia, for example, gained independence only in 1991, and then soon after that, 13 years later, joined NATO and the European Union. And given Putin's stated objective unstated objective of putting together the Soviet Union again, one can understand that he might want to swallow the Baltic states up. Now, you mentioned the 35% Russian-speaking population in Latvia. Now, what impact do you think that would have on this new policy by the Latvian government to build these air raid shelters?
I would say there's no direct impact. Again, it is a precautionary measure rather than anything else. The population is just advised to really clean their shelters, garages, or anything that could potentially be used for shelter, like, as I said before, cellars. Just keep them clean of debris in case that you need to take refuge there, that nothing can fall on you. So it should not have real impact on the Russian ethnic minority living in Latvia.
Understood. Now, do you think that the other Baltic states, that's Estonia and Lithuania, should take similar steps?
Of course, I think everyone should, whether it's the Baltic states or any country that is relatively close to Russia. Perhaps one example that I would highlight is Poland's neighbor, Slovakia. A governmental agency issued a warning a couple of weeks ago saying that Slovakia is largely unprepared in case there was any kind of invasion, any kind of conflict. Ready to shelter. They're often unsupported garages and they are not safe. So in theory, these shelters in Slovakia should provide refuge to 7.5 million, which is more than Slovakia population. Yeah.
Yes, well, quite. Sorry, go on. I think we're having some trouble with the technicals there.
Say that this more of these are actually suitable.
Yes, unfortunately, Veronika, unfortunately, we cannot hear you. But thank you very much.